You're watching and listening episode 68 of the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast. On this episode, I'm going to tell you why we are dangerously close to everything falling in line with the prophecy. The prophecy, my prophecy. In addition to that, we're going to talk a little bit of MLB and potentially looking a little bit into the playoffs. I'm going to tell you the sadness that is the Stanley Cup regarding the aforementioned prophecy. And in addition to that, we're also going to chat a little bit. Somewhere we'll sprinkle in there. Maybe we'll talk a little NBA. Maybe we'll talk some random shit. Maybe the Serper conspiracy continues. I can't promise anything, but whatever happens, it's going to be on this episode of the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast. I'm Carlos. That's Dave. What's going on, Dave?
Yeah, you know what? This week, something that has not happened in quite a lot of time. I've watched a lot of wrestling because I went to the library to get something else out, and then just basically, as in a lot of businesses, everything's taped out in terms of the path that you are supposed to take, right? Arrow direction, exact. So that arrows that take me to where I pick up my holds pass me through the DVDs, and boom, Survivor Series was just sitting there, and I was like, you know what?
Now, what is the actual DVD? Because you showed it to me, and I saw Survivor Series, and I saw like 30 on it. But what is the actual
it's
thing?
like the 30 best moments of. I think it's like 30 years of Survivor Series. So it's like 30 best moments. So the first disc is like the 30 best moments of Survivor Series countdown.
Usually they do like a documentary or a countdown or whatever.
Yeah, it's a countdown, and then there's 3 discs, and the other 2 discs are matches.
Okay. Does anything involve the Undertaker's debut?
The Undertaker is in a couple of them, yeah.
No, but I mean he debuted at Survivor Series. So
I don't know if they use that one or not. I don't know because
yeah. So as a quick side note to everybody, the reason I can throw a reference like that out there, if you are familiar with wrestling, is that in another lifetime, because I think podcasts really got going really like in the mid 2000s, like 2005, 2006. Realistic. If you're a super OG like podcast, it would probably have been from that era. If I had tried to do a podcast back in 2005, it probably would have been a wrestling podcast because I had references for days. And sometime down the road, I'll discuss the possibility of me doing a little thing related to that, but that won't be until like November. So it's not worth talking about for a while. But I know my wrestling a little bit.
Yeah, there was definitely one of his earlier matches, back in the day when he had Paul Bearer walking to the ring with him.
Yeah.
And
because I can tell you right now, the way you can tell.
Was it against Hulk Hogan, the match they had?
No, that would have been, I think, second or third year.
Okay, so no, they don't have the original match.
Yeah, because I want to say, and someone can fact check me, I think it was Survivor Series 91 when he made his debut. And he made his debut as part of a traditional Survivor Series match, which is a 5-on-5 kind of elimination match. And he was on a team with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. So Ted DiBiase introduced him as his mystery partner as part of his Survivor Series team, and he came down, and his first manager wasn't Paul Bearer. His first manager was Brother Love. There's a little piece of trivia for you.
I like it. You want another piece of trivia? Another match that is in this DVD set.
Yep.
The Rock's first match ever was in Survivor Series as well.
I believe that. That's probably about right.
He was, at that point, he was known as Rocky Maivia.
Yeah. Did you like his haircut?
There's actually a YouTube video, and it's unfortunate because I think he only made 4 of them on The Rock's YouTube channel called The Rock Reacts.
Yeah.
And he, it's just 2 of them are about Saturday Night Live. One of them's about his appearance in The Scorpion King, his first like major film he was the star, and the other one is about his first match, and he riffs on his hair.
Yeah, because it's hideous. It's literally like a Chia Pet thing. Like
I think he makes that reference in the video.
Yeah, but go find a picture of the damn. It's embarrassing.
Yes.
Considering where he ended up, it's impressive how pathetic the start was.
Yeah, and the best part about it though is I can't remember the name of the camera, but it's like the main camera,
the hard cam.
Yes, thank you. Mm-hmm. And he comes in and he's trying to play to that, but he has his back turned to it the whole time.
Yep. One day, that man would become the biggest movie star in the world, and maybe down the road, president. Just saying.
Yeah,
you never know.
It's quite possible.
Yeah, all of it's possible, but you got to start somewhere, I guess. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And then another story I'll share with you real briefly. We went apple picking today for the first time with George, and surprisingly, that is an activity that a 13-month-old can get into as much as a 13-month-old can get into anything. Because he has the strength to, grab onto an apple and pull it off the tree. Mm-hmm. He just wants to eat every apple that he picks.
Mm.
But, you know, we had fun, and we have a bag of apples now, which we will eat.
Live the dream, Dave. Live the dream.
Exactly.
The correct move is apple pie, Dave. Apple pie is the move.
Apple pie is always a good move.
It is a move. Mm.
Anyway, how about you, buddy? What's going on with you?
For the most part, work is pretty quiet. We did a lot of testing. That's really, I won't get too much into detail and bore everybody, but testing means that I'm kind of sitting around there monitoring things a lot, which is usually the job, but it also means a lot of downtime followed by fixing, downtime, fixing, downtime, and the back and forth of that. But it also means if you haven't slept well, which I didn't last week, I was very tired. And it made for a lot of stretches of just being like semi-conscious for a lot of it. And when I had to do it, then it was easy because then your mind's engaged, you're in it, you're whatever. But during that little in between downtime, you're just like, you know, just a little bit of that in the chair. So that's always kind of fun. A lot of coffee is the answer to all of it is a lot of coffee, like a lot.
Iced coffee?
Absolutely. I only do iced coffee.
Yeah. Okay. That was a question I feel the podcast listeners didn't know.
Yeah, so. I only do the iced coffee. I don't do hot drinks for anything. It's just iced coffee. So I usually make it here at the house. Although I did treat myself a couple times this week to Starbucks because the app is back online and you can actually just pop in, grab it, and walk right back out.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of that. So that works out. That's good stuff. But yeah, for the most part, it was pretty straightforward. It's been fun, kind of, because I do talk about my collecting stuff a fair bit, and I've been having a little bit of fun doing some of that, working on some of it. If you do ever check out the video version of it, I put my see if I can do the right direction. There we go. I put the Instagram there that all the cards are in, and I finished a little collection, put together a thing with a one of one. So the Medano collection is proceeding along very well.
Nice. Is that the purple one? Did you get the purple one of one?
Mm-hmm. That's the one.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was a good.
It finally came down in price, eh?
Yeah, to a certain degree. I still paid more than I would have liked to, but it is what it is. It's one of those ones that you got to do. And when it comes to a lot of that stuff, it's really going to be trying to negotiate, trying to find the right deal, trying to put together the right pieces. But at the same time, it is a one of one. And I decided I had already put in enough effort to try to finish it off. So sometimes you got to stretch a little bit. Although if he hadn't come down in price, it was funny because I did do a little text exchange with him because I was in touch with the seller.
Right.
And I laughed because when I was actually doing it, and I want to quote this for you guys so that we get it right here. And I'll tell you exactly what I said. He reached out and he basically asked if the handle for the person who made the offer on eBay was me. He asked me directly, and he goes, I asked because they made a decent offer and I countered, which he did. And it's like, they may accept. So they say they may accept. He goes, not sure how hell-bent you are on finishing this rainbow. And I said, yep. And I countered his counter. And my reply was, yep. And I'd accept that last counter. It isn't going 1 cent higher. I'm tempted to drop it because I can pull my offer and then submit another offer that's even lower.
Right.
And then he was like, okay, got it. So I told him, I was like, you're not getting a cent more. And if I have to sit here and wait, I'm going to withdraw that offer and I'm actually going to offer less. So this is the highest it's going.
I like it.
The price can only go down from here. So yeah, sometimes you got to remind them, it's like, hey, just don't get cute.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't get cute. Just get her done. But yeah, that was good. So I've been having fun with that. Although I think we're going to be in a little slowdown time now in the fall because I got some plans and some things that need to get done. And hashtag adulting. You got to take care of the business. You got to do what you can.
Yes, you do.
But I've made some great strides in the collection anyway the last couple of months. So right now is a good opportunity to sit back and chill and just kind of watch things play out a little bit. Yep. So with all that said, why don't we, if you don't have any more stories about anything going on, then we can get a little bit into this. So let's get this one out of the way. Stanley Cup Final, Game 5 is on tonight, and we are dangerously close. As I mentioned, we are dangerously close to fulfilling the prophecy. And Dave, you may not know this, but there was a wise man who spoke on these matters. And I can refer to him right now. I can point out exactly where this was stated and where this was done. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So it's coming here. And what we're going to do is we're going to refer back. And then I will cue it up and share with you all exactly what we're going to be looking at. Now, this goes from an episode last week called It Was LeBron and Sir Pearl All Along on this very podcast, where a wise man, a visionary, if you will. Let's just cue it up to a specific section here if we can. And by the way, just nod, Dave, if you can hear the audio. It should be fine, but you let me know.
All right. So, what would be your prediction? Tampa Bay in how many games? Actually, like, how many?
If I'm saying Tampa wins, it'd probably be in 5. So probably I would give Dallas a game. That would be how it would play out. But again, it will depend. Like that's all you need to know. Just why don't we all just listen to that guy? He knows what he's talking about. He knows the way. If it's going to play out, Dallas gets a game. They did get a game. And unless they can do something very dramatic tonight, it will be done in 5.
Yeah.
Exactly as my prophecy.
In accordance with Carlos's prophecy.
My prophecy. My specific prophecy. That was a wise man. Those were heady days. Back before I became my own evil twin with my mini goatee of exactly a couple of days worth of growth. And back when Dave had his goatee and it was the evil twin that asked me that question.
You gotta love when the podcast ages well. And what we say ages well.
But it's the thing is
we're on a pretty good streak right now. Tom Brady, your prediction for the Stanley Cup Finals.
It's easy. See, here's the thing, Dave. Part of the reason that I've kind of pivoted away from talking sports as much is because, frankly, we're idiots and we know almost nothing about sports. However, if you ask me a question about a team that I have been carefully watching, then you better believe I have some insight. And the thing is, I didn't want to play the whole clip because I could have kept going on that clip where I analyzed it. And by the way, a lot of what I said has played out exactly. I gave you the specific prediction, but one of the things I said is I said exactly what Tampa Bay needed to do in order to win. I also said exactly what Dallas had been doing wrong that could potentially cause them problems, including getting horrifically outshot. And I'm not going to refer, like I said, I'm not going to go back to the clip, although I could. I literally could. But just to give you guys an indicator, Game 4 was an overtime game. We know that. But the thing is, Dallas recorded 3 shots in the first period. 3 in 20 minutes. They recorded 3 shots.
That's pretty pathetic.
It is pathetic. Now, what happened is they got lucky, in much the way they've gotten lucky in a lot of this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. They were able to score on 2 out of 3 shots. How often do you think that's going to happen?
Not very often.
No. The first 3 shots, 2 of them went in for goals. And Tampa came back and scored on their last shot of regulation right at the end, within about 30 seconds of the end of the first period. And instead of being 2-0 heading into the second, it was 2-1. And that was like a precursor of things to come, where Dallas had a 2-goal lead a couple of times and they blew a 2-goal lead. And then they kind of hung on. They tied it late in the third to bring it to overtime. And one of the things I did say was, how many times are you going to keep courting danger with overtime before it doesn't work for you?
Mm-hmm.
That's the funny thing about it. If you keep courting danger, eventually you're going to pay. On a related note, on 2 of the 3 power plays that Tampa had in regulation, they scored goals. And then in overtime, in accordance with the prophecy, my prophecy, they also went in overtime, and Jamie Benn, the captain, got a penalty, an ill-advised penalty, and Tampa scored its 3rd goal on its 4th power play.
Yeah, well,
all of these things are not good.
No.
All of them.
No, and it's a recipe for losing series. And most likely looks like it will be a recipe for losing the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, they position themselves in such a way. And tonight we've actually got 2 Game 5s. So we've got the Dallas-Tampa Bay Game 5, and we've also got the Lakers taking on the Nuggets in the NBA for Game 5. So, but I will say the Nuggets are probably better equipped to try to make a series out of a 3-1 deficit. Hey, they've done it twice.
They've done it. Yeah, exactly. They have. Yeah. Some will argue that they have the Lakers right where they want them.
Yeah. I would say most likely, I honestly believe that LeBron is smart enough to know that he shouldn't let them keep hanging around. It would be unwise to not do whatever he can to try to end the series here and just get it over with. I would say for Tampa, they have a little more room to work with. Last night was a real missed opportunity for the Dallas team, because they could have, at the bare minimum, gotten out of this weekend down 3-2 if they had found a way to win the last game. It would have been better for them to, like, even if you're behind, even if you're facing an elimination game, I believe on Monday, you're better off facing an elimination game on Monday than facing an elimination game tonight and having to hope and pray that you can squeeze one out here to force the same elimination game on Monday.
Yeah,
it's a very different way, very different feel, having to now fight for your playoff life starting tonight and then revisiting it on Monday, and then trying to stretch the series to Game 7, I think, on Wednesday.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's asking a lot.
For sure.
3 in a row against this Tampa team might be a little bit too much to ask.
It's probably a bridge too far.
Yeah, but we'll see. We're going to see it, and if you see the video version of it, so there's some of my Dallas swag that I did pick up.
That is a Dallas beer koozie they had.
Woo!
While drinking Amsterdam.
Yes, indeed, they deliver.
3-speed, people, check it out. It's good.
They deliver.
Hashtag sponsor us.
I know, clearly, obviously, but so yeah. But the Stanley Cup final, like I said, is going. If it does go end tonight, then I cash my cash money. So I suppose that works out. And I should be able to get my Jamie Benn rookies and stuff pretty cheap soon because he has failed me yet again. Although not as badly as Tyler Seguin has failed me. I think he's only got 9 points in this entire playoff. For $10 million, Dave, 9 points.
Brutal.
Yeah. You know what else? You know what else is brutal? That performance, combined with the fact that the two leading scorers on the Dallas team, are Heiskanen, which we knew already, and Klingberg. Klingberg and Heiskanen have made a distinctive record. Well, I don't think it's a record. I think it's matching a previous accomplishment. They're the only two defenseman pairings to have recorded 20 points in a playoff outside of the Edmonton Oilers of the 80s. That's great. The fact that they're the two leading scorers on the team, that's not great. So that is kind of indicative of where this is. The defense is great, but everything else is not so great.
Yeah.
Not so great. And they left the door open for Tampa Bay to record an opportunity. I think I would say a great indicator of the way the series has gone is that Stamkos won't be playing in Game 5. He didn't really play in Game 4, I don't believe. If memory serves me. I think he played in Game 3. And that was the only action he's had in the Stanley Cup final. And he scored a goal in Game 3. And he's too injured to play in Game 4 and Game 5. To which I say, why was he able to score a goal then? How bad is this team that you let the broken guy come in for a brief visit? Oh, while I'm here, I may as well score a goal. Wait, what? No. Yeah. Re-injure this man. Did I not state that I wanted everyone on Tampa Bay to be injured?
I think so. I'm pretty sure you did say that.
If Jamie Benn's going to get a penalty, could he at least do it injuring him? It's not like he's helping that much anyway. Get injured, get suspended, whatever. Go for it. At least let's get something out of this. Jesus. Anyway. All right. Which one do you want to do then? NFL, NBA, or a little MLB?
Let's go to MLB. Because I probably would have admitted, if I haven't already said this on air. Well, let's admit two things. First of all, one
Soto was great.
Yeah, well, I haven't never said that isn't true.
But I feel we should still all acknowledge it.
That's
once
fair.
Again.
Even though his team is not.
That's a different issue entirely.
True. So I was horribly wrong about the Anaheim Angels. So I want to put that out there. I'm just going to eat crow on that one.
You mean the LA Angels?
Yeah. Los Angeles, whatever. Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I feel you can still call them the Anaheim Angels and it works.
Sure.
But whatever. And considering they're actually like 45 minutes with good traffic away from Los Angeles. Anyway. So I bet on them, and I probably would have told you 8 teams in playoffs is a bad idea. I'm still not convinced that it isn't a bad idea. Mm-hmm. It's nice because that's how the Jays made the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy about that. And here's the thing, right? The first round series is potential 3 games. It's the best out of 3. Mm-hmm. So I feel the potential for upset in the first round is quite high. Considering you have a couple of good pitching performances. Right. For example, we'll use the Jays as an example, but you have Hyun-Jin Ryu, going for you in Game 1. He is a playoff commodity. I wouldn't say necessarily he's a proven playoff commodity, but he's been in a lot of playoff games for the Dodgers. He's pitched in playoffs. He knows what that's like. Quite possible that if he pitches lights out, we got one. Now, you have another, you only have one more that you need. The other team has to win both games. So I think the pressure and the potential for upset is going to be huge in the first round. Mm-hmm. I also do appreciate that, especially, the AL is all settled in terms of who's making the playoffs. I think there might be some seeding that could potentially change. But the NL is still up for grabs in terms of the fact that there are currently 4 teams, Cincinnati, San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Milwaukee, that can take any of those 14, any combination of those 4 teams could be 7th and 8th. So that's exciting. And then the 8th team plays the Dodgers. So I'm looking forward to that. It's also going to be weird watching the games, in neutral sites, right? San Diego, Los Angeles, the Dodger Stadium, and Arlington and Houston. That's going to be weird. The other thing that will probably be slightly satisfying, I hope, is that the way things stand right now, and I don't think it's about to change, is that Houston is the 6th seed, and they're going to play the Twins in Los Angeles. So it looks like Houston, whatever series Houston is going to play in, they're going to play in Los Angeles, and Houston is not playing well. So it's going to be interesting to see that.
Okay.
Right? Because because of the whole cheating thing, sign stealing, beating the Dodgers in the World Series, it would be kind of nice to see Houston be eliminated from the playoffs at Dodger Stadium. A little poetic justice there. Hopefully.
Interesting. Could be. Yeah, I was kind of curious because I was looking at it. Now, mind you, the brackets have changed. People have shifted around a little bit. I was trying to see exactly where the seating was. So I thought the Yankees were playing the Twins, but obviously there's been some jockeying for position. So the Yankees are playing Cleveland
right now. Yeah, and that could change. Any team right now. So Minnesota, Cleveland, and Chicago White Sox are all going to make the playoffs from the AL Central. Right now, the order is Minnesota, Cleveland, Chicago. But that order could change. Any of those teams could win the division. Any of them could finish third, right? Minnesota has 35 wins. Cleveland has 34. And Chicago has 34. So I don't know what tiebreakers. There's some tiebreaker that Cleveland has over Chicago right now.
Yeah, that's right. No, that's fair. I get it. It'll be interesting to see. Like, I don't know at this stage what I have to kind of look at these matchups once they are finalized. To your point, though, I do think it's interesting for me in that the way that this is structured is that, obviously Arlington and Houston are where all the NL teams are playing, which are 2 National League stadiums. And then San Diego and Los Angeles are 2 National League ones where all the American League teams are playing. So basically, like, Houston is literally on the opposite side of the bracket where they could have been playing in Houston. But they don't have that option. And
same with the Dodgers, right? And the Padres.
Yeah, but the Padres was the main one I was thinking about because that one made me laugh. I was like, wait, so the Padres are playing good. They're in the playoffs. By the way, the Padres games, the San Diego games are on the other side of the bracket. You're in the wrong league, San Diego.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, especially, I think, potential for the non up to the World Series. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different potentially for the National League because they're playing games there. But in the first round and obviously in the NLCS and even the NLDS, the teams playing in Arlington may have never played a game there.
I wonder if they did that on purpose, though, because it looks to me like they were trying to make it like extra neutral. They're like, no, we're literally going to make sure that you guys don't normally play in this stadium, so we're going to put you on the opposite side.
Yeah, I just wonder if there's the potential for, injury in the fact that they don't know the playing surface and don't know to judge, where the warning track is, foul territory, that kind of thing about the stadium.
I suppose, but it seems like a bit of a stretch. I think, though, if they're going to do Los Angeles, they shouldn't. Is Los Angeles Dodger Stadium then?
Yeah, it's Dodger Stadium.
They should have done the Anaheim one. Then at least then you could have been like, hey, you see, a playoff is being played here. No thanks to you, Trout.
Yeah, that would have been slightly amusing. Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting. I mean, some of the matchups, like Tampa Bay and the Jays, are going to play each other. That's for sure going to happen.
No, I think there's still. I have to look, but I think there's still a scenario where the Jays and the Yankees could flip flop. It's still like
maybe, yeah.
The Jays have to win out, and the Yankees have to lose at least once.
Yeah.
Yes, the Jays must win everything. They can't lose
the Yankees have to lose out too now.
I believe so. Yes.
So, yes. Yeah, it's possible, but I'm pretty sure
it's a stretch, but it is possible.
Yes, but the likelihood is that you're going to get a Tampa Bay Toronto series.
Most likely,
would be good. And yeah, Oakland's going to play an AL Central team. It depends which one. And then, yeah, so we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of jockeying in terms of like 3 through 7. Houston's locked in at 6, but 3 through 3, 4, 5, and 7 could all alternate potentially.
Exciting times.
right? Versus some interesting potential in the NL too. Miami, being in the playoffs. And again, I think that first round is going to be interesting in terms of the pitching matchups that can be there. I kind of want Philly to not make the playoffs because screw you, Bryce Harper. But we'll see what happens there. But I expect the big thing I'm expecting is going to be San Diego, LA, NLDS, which I think is going to be a hell of a series. But here's the one thing I question, Carlos, because I watch the Dodgers, right? Fairly regularly.
I've heard this rumor.
And
by the way, that rumor is also a lie because you don't watch the Dodgers, Dave. You listen to the Dodgers. There's no viewing in radio.
I actually watched parts of the games this week that have been actually on TV.
I'm sorry, you watched them on a television with moving pictures?
That's correct.
Go on.
And honestly, I'm like, how is this? I get it. Like, I like it, obviously, but it's like, how is this team the best team in Major League Baseball record-wise? It baffles me, right? Because they're a good team, don't get me wrong. But, I feel like the team has really done nothing. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. But a lot of the issues that have reared their ugly head in the playoffs before, I feel are going to catch up to this team yet again. So, first of all, is starting pitching.
Not like in the pandemic situation, weird shit happens where a team probably has no business being there with apparent weaknesses ends up in a position. Not like that happens, Dave.
Yeah.
Ever.
Carlos is holding up the Dallas Stars koozie to the
but specifically right to the logo, right directly dead center in the middle of the picture, just so that we can be clear what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It happens.
Yeah. Who knows? But I think they're starting pitching. I don't think their starting pitching is that strong.
I don't think can I be honest with you? I don't think it matters because so let's do a little bit of actual analysis for 1 second. I'll come back to your Dodgers point for a moment, but I want to talk in generalities first.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
So when it comes to the playoffs this year, the tack that I've taken, here's the thing. I've been enjoying the whole Juan Soto thing because it's been fun. It's a short season. I can't put any major stock into it. What I've enjoyed is that when I look at Soto play, even though the team is not making the playoffs and everything, they're the defending World Series champions, but they just didn't play very well. Strasburg was hurt early. Soto had the diagnosis for COVID early. That took him out for the beginning of it. But otherwise, the guys played lights out. Some guys have come into this playing well. Towards the tail end of this, and going to the Jays now for a second, Guerrero has played terrible most of the season. The last little bit, he's turned it on, which is still a problem for me because that's condition. You're basically alluding to a conditioning problem again. If you extrapolate his totals right now over 162 games, he ends up at about maybe like 25, 26 home runs and about 90 RBIs, which is not a terrible progression from his last year. But at the same time, you're thinking like, okay, you're starting to turn it on late here. Your average is starting to creep up. You're starting to hit a couple of home runs here down the stretch. Imagine what it would have been like if you had come in shape. And like out of spring training, he was in shape, but then he allowed himself to get out of shape during the quarantine. But other players came in shape, ready to go, and came firing out. Injuries are injuries. That stuff happens. A lot of pitchers went down, obviously, because they didn't get a chance to stretch out the way they normally would with a normal spring training leading into a regular season. The whole reset process kind of messed the whole thing up for everybody.
Yeah.
But it's even across the board. Everybody potentially had the same problem. Some of the pitchers were more prepared than others. Some of them were just unlucky. Like, you don't think the Braves are in the playoffs, right? Like, hold on.
Yes, they are.
Sure. Yeah,
they are.
Braves in the playoffs.
They've won the division.
Yeah. Mike Sorotka or whatever, the young guy there, he got hurt. Like, he got hurt really badly. And he's out for the season, and he'll have to rehab and come back next year. Yeah. But the thing is, you don't think they wouldn't love to have him around right now for this run, because it's just one more weapon they have, and at least get him some playoff experience. There's a lot of potential that could be with an Atlanta Braves team that could be interesting. It's hard to say, but it could be.
Yeah, absolutely.
But stuff happens. But it's one of those things. Like, is that the ideal? Is that what you'd want? You'd love to have him around right now, even just to get some experience in the playoffs. But you're going to have to make do. Everybody, I bet you by the time we get through it, it's going to be a little bit of attrition, especially the first couple of rounds. It's going to be teams just trying to advance without getting hurt. That's really going to be the goal. And then once we get down to it, we'll see. The Dodgers could win the damn thing with their deficiencies and all, just because they're built well enough and they've got enough depth to be able, and enough experience to be able to be like, okay, this is weird, but it's weird for everybody. And we got these neutral sites and all of this stuff. So just go out and play. And on a related note, you guys did remember to lose Dave Roberts' plane ticket, right? He goes, yeah, he can't get out. We locked him in a room. Where is he right now? Oh, I think he's in the Nunavut headquarters with Kyrie. I think they're both watching it in the bubble.
Yeah. Quite possibly. To just, their own bubble.
Just saying, I can fix all your problems here, Dave. All he has to do is hang out with Kyrie. Wait, what is Dave Roberts' job? His job is to keep Kyrie in the bubble. But what's Kyrie's job? His job is to keep Dave Roberts in the bubble. Wait, so their job is to watch each other? Yes. We gave them a job they can't mess up.
I like it.
Yep.
But
go ahead, talk your Dodgers.
It's totally possible that anybody could win. The thing is, the Dodgers have a better bullpen than they have in years, I would say. And when I say better bullpen, I mean top to bottom. Right, they may have had a better back end or maybe middle relievers at times, but in terms of like your bullpen as a whole, where every guy you feel you can give the ball to and you have a good chance for them to get done what you've tasked them to do, I think maybe they've had the best one in the last the 8 years of their streaks of winning divisions.
So you're saying it should be great as long as the person in charge of making decisions of when to utilize this bullpen is competent and capable of using it correctly. Yeah. Great. Mm-hmm. Victory is assured, Dave.
You see what I'm saying? So you've got a great bullpen, but do you trust the person to use it correctly? And then you have starting pitching, which is so I would say at best, even though they've won 41 games and potentially could win 43, right? And then you have Mookie Betts, right, who's been awesome. Corey Seager, who's been awesome. AJ Pollock, who's been awesome. But a lot of your other guys, like Cody Bellinger, hasn't had a good year.
Nope.
Jock Peterson hasn't had a good year. There's a lot of guys who aren't doing well. I think they have whatever they need to get through the first round. Although, granted, I feel it's a little bit of a crapshoot. But that San Diego series could be one hell of a humdinger, Carlos. Yes, I did use that word.
Wow, amazing, incredible.
So I'm looking forward to that part of the bracket. I'm also looking forward to, as I say, team to watch for me. Is the Oakland A's in the American League, right? I would say, honestly, I feel like the NL is going to be represented by either Los Angeles or San Diego with an outside shot at potentially maybe Atlanta. And
do you have any idea how, bringing back the sports card market report for a second, do you have any idea what would happen to Fernando Tatis and or Ronald Acuna if they made a World Series run this year?
Hey, buddy, I'm just saying, like, right, because this is one of the things we talk about on this podcast, right? So I would say if I were you, random person out there, and you're thinking, okay, where should I go next in the sports card market? This is my personal opinion. You can ridicule me all you want after I say this.
Deservedly so.
I would say look at the Oakland A's, look at the Braves, look at the Padres, and see who's potentially undervalued right now. For the rookie card on that, but who potentially has, could develop, and see if you can buy their card. Because if they do go all the way, you will have a smile on your face, let's say.
Possibly to a certain degree, yes. In baseball, I would say the reaction on a World Series championship isn't as immediate. There is a little bit of a response. Like, it's not like Strasburg's cards went into the stratosphere after they won the World Series, even though he won the MVP. Mm-hmm. Soto definitely went up, but he actually went up more in the offseason. It's not like he immediately happened right after. Soto was a borderline MVP candidate for that World Series. He performed extremely well, and he followed it up with a great performance this year, which his cards have appreciated. Mm-hmm. Once it became clear they were a non-playoff team this year, his card prices have come back down a little bit, which is actually fine for me as a Juan Soto buyer. I'm like, great. Bring the prices back down under control. He still played extremely well. Like, if I actually look at what he did, he actually played extremely well still, even though the team success wasn't there this year. Acuna is a good call, I think. Tatis is interesting. Even Manny Machado is interesting from the San Diego side of it, because he's had a bit of a resurgence this year. Reminding people he was pretty good at baseball. Oakland's weird because I was like, I don't know who the star player would be on Oakland. That's kind of what makes the thing weird, is that maybe the play here is buy the Oakland A's.
Could be.
Franchise.
Could be. Chris Davis, Matt Chapman.
Yeah, but Chris
Maybe.
Davis really didn't play that well, I don't think.
No, I'm just thinking like potential. I'm just thinking about possible potential. But yeah, I
Matt
mean,
Chapman is probably your best answer for that because Chris Davis had a couple of years where he hit a lot of home runs. He was pretty good at that. But this year he's hitting a robust .190.
yeah. Well, there you go.
It's working out great.
Meanwhile, and Matt Chapman's only hitting 232.
All right, hold on, Dave. Wait, let me correct myself. He's up to a .193, which
Yeah, there you
means he only needs to raise his average 12 points to bat his weight.
Woo-hoo!
Forget about Mendoza line. Batting your weight is where it's at, Dave.
I like it. I like it. Oh, Chris Davis.
Ooh, hey, they've been rough times since those heydays. Now, with Chris Davis, he was never a high average guy, but at least when he was hitting 40 home runs, he did it for 3 straight years, so everybody knows. When you're hitting 40 bombs a year, we'll forgive a 247 batting average. Wow, hold on. Can I share with you a random stat here?
Please do. I love, me. I love some random stats.
All right. So Chris Davis, from 2015 until 2018, these are his batting averages year by year in those 4 seasons. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
247, 247, 247, and 247. That is his batting average for 4 years. He literally hit 247 4 straight years. That included his last year in Milwaukee, where he hit 27 home runs and 66 RBIs and hit 247. His 28-16 year in Oakland, where he hit 42 home runs, 102 RBIs, and hit 247. 2017, where he hit 43 home runs, 110 RBIs, and he hit 247. And 2018, where he was a top 10 MVP candidate, hit 48 home runs, 123 RBIs, and hit 247.
That's pretty cool.
I don't think I can think of anyone who has so consistently hit so many home runs and batted such a low average that isn't Dave Kingman. Like, there's your reference. Look up Dave Kingman. That's literally it. Nobody is like that. Well, Adam Dunn. Adam Dunn. Adam Dunn's another one. Dave Kingman and Adam Dunn. That's the company you keep. But in fairness, Dave Kingman and Adam Dunn did it for longer. So
Yes.
Indeed. Indeed. There's your random trivia reference for baseball for the day.
I like it.
It works out. Anything else you want to do MLB wise?
No, I think that's good. I think we've covered some, pretty randomness there. So
I think there's more. I think there'll be more to discuss later.
Oh,
I think
for sure.
Right now we got to find out what these final playoff matchups are.
Exactly.
I'm not going to make major predictions on anything. I think this really is going to be a crapshoot. Like, this first round is going to be nuts. I actually like the whole 16 team thing. I'm cool with it. Whatever. I know some people complain about it, but it's like, look, man, at least it makes it interesting. The Jays made the playoffs for the first time since 2016. It's not like they had any business being in the playoffs either, but they're there. They're there now. So we'll see. Maybe some of these young guys will get a chance to perform a little bit of playoffs. And if they steal a round or two, hey, I don't think the fan base is going to complain.
No, not at all.
I will say, though, the postseason swag is pathetic. Like, truly pathetic. It's kind of lame.
Because yet again, Rob Manfred has let you down.
It is true. It is true. It is something he does tend to do a lot. But we'll see. I'd be okay with keeping the playoff format because screw it. Whatever, man.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, if it goes well this year, I wouldn't be surprised if it's back next year.
My understanding is he wants to do it. And there's some support from some of the owners because from their perspective, you have to understand, from the owner's perspective, it's like, well, playoff revenue money. Yeah, homie. We can sell more playoff games to our TV partners too. We might need some of that.
But you know what? You want even more money? Come up with some decent swag.
That would help. That would help a lot. Like, have you seen it?
No.
Like,
I've seen the shirts that they're wearing, like the respect shirts and whatnot.
Yeah. I'm not talking about that. Like, that's lame too, but that's not what I'm referring to. All right. So here, hold on. I'll show you. And again, I remind everyone that, Dave's, not so much apology from last week. The video version is where it's at. I care not what anyone else says. Okay. So here we go. Let me do this. Let me do a quick share screen here for you. Let me do it. Technology. All right. So here's the thing. It doesn't matter which team you're looking at. Basically, what you're looking at, here's the playoff logo. This is a postseason logo. I'm going to make one of these bigger Let's do the Jays one here since we're homers. So let me expand this. Okay. Basically, it's a regular Jays cap with this patch on it. Be
Lame.
still my beating heart, Dave.
Lame.
Be still my beating heart.
But you can get free shipping on all U.S. orders.
Yeah, great. Awesome.
Which doesn't really help us, but hey.
No, it means that, like, I looked at it. I was like, oh, well, I kind of like to buy some playoffs. So, like, I still have my postseason hat from 2015, which was just funny. That was funny. This is just kind of like, we're not even trying.
No. Right?
What am I supposed to do with that? Like, I've got that hat.
Yeah, nothing, man.
Maybe sell me the patch or something. I don't know. All right, cool. So I do want to touch on the other two. So you want to do NBA or NFL?
I honestly, let's do NBA because I feel it'll be quicker because I don't have a lot to say other than, obviously Boston's making it a series, which is good. I still think the lead that Miami has means they will win the series.
I'd expect so.
But it would not shock me completely if Boston won the next two games. But I feel Milwaukee will be able to win a game, and therefore win the series. Denver, is back down to their favorite 3-1 deficit, which they were to the Jazz, came back and won, which they were to the Clippers and came back and won and embarrassed the Clippers in doing so, which was fantastic. And are now down 3-1 to the Lakers. I don't see it happening this time. I would not be shocked if they win tonight, just because. But I also feel that it's equally plausible that LeBron just takes this game and it's done. But I don't think there's any chance that Denver takes it further than 6. I also feel that the Lakers are a better team, and Denver at some point is just going to be spent from having to come back from all these deficits again and again and again. I feel Denver's chance to, make a real series of this or try and, put it in their favor, came when they could have won game 2 and didn't. And, now we see where we are.
That's fair. I think that's really what it comes down to is that you keep it goes back to the same thing I said with Dallas. Like I'm saying it seriously. The Dallas series worked out as a hedge because I bet on Tampa because I thought they were the better team. And for the most part, they're playing like the better team. But it's also the theme here was I thought Dallas could potentially steal the series and win it if they didn't reach out to the well too many times. You can't play from behind constantly. You're going to run out of gas. You're going to get tired. You're going to make a mistake. And the more you put yourself behind the 8 ball, the harder it is. You have no room for error then. You had better be perfect. Well, that's what the Nuggets did. They put themselves in these 3-1 holes and then we'll dig ourselves out of it. Well, how many times do you think you can dig into that well? LeBron James knows full well that his window is closing. The opportunities are going to be limited going forward. So from his perspective, he goes, I got to close the door on these guys. To the best of my ability, I got to try to close the door on these guys and get them out of here so that I can prepare for the finals against probably the Heat. Probably. Because the Heat are young and full of a lot of energy.
Yes.
So they can they can pose a challenge to that Laker team if they can't stay healthy. Because I think AD had a little bit of an injury thing going on, and this could very well happen. And as soon as one injury, this Lakers team is one injury away from struggling against a potential East opponent.
Yes,
absolutely. It's not like they're so dominant that they can afford to have somebody go down for any reasonable period of time that is significant that does real minutes.
Correct.
And this is from a non-basketball guy. Look at that.
I know.
This requires almost no analysis. It's so simple.
I think what I would say here is that I really feel that, all these teams, it's one of those things. It's all these teams. We know who they are. We know what their strength, especially we've seen them playing for so long, especially in the bubble where the focus has really been on them. Mm-hmm. We know what their strengths are. We know what their weaknesses are. And it's just a question of who's going to be able to execute and game plan consistently to get 4 wins against any of them.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like in the NBA, traditionally, the better team in terms of talent wins most of the time. It's very rare when a team can just be scrappy and take it all the way to the house. Can it happen? Sure. But it's super rare. Like, I think the last time you can think of a team that probably wasn't the best team, but still got it done, was probably the Pistons some years back. Like, that team was very scrappy in terms of what they did. Their style was to steal a wrestling term, bowling shoe ugly, but it still worked. They were able to get it done. They found a way. And they were able to stick it to some other teams by being that kind of a physical defensive team.
Yeah.
I don't think any of these teams are going to be doing that. So it's going to be the team with most talent most of the time that's going to win.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a big thing. So that's fair. So before we get to the NFL, then I do want to address kind of an elephant in the room. It's something that I think is very important that we do need to discuss.
All right, let's hear it.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, Dave, how many copies of these shoes are you going to be buying? I need answers.
Probably at least 6.
I'm going to hold you to that. I expect you and Ben to have multiple pairs coming around. Like, number one, you got to look at this. Like, this is now again, you're missing out, folks, if you're not watching the video version. I am showing Ric Flair's Instagram, and Ric Flair has a pair of shoes that apparently are a collaboration with Adidas and Damian Lillard because reasons. Because reasons.
I'm going to say it, Carlos, because why wouldn't I want to wear those when I can be styling and profiling?
Well, it's very important. Like, I was hoping you would say that, Dave, because I was prepared just in case you were going to try to cop out and say they were not alligator shoes. Are you going to try to cop out and say they're not alligator shoes?
They're not alligator. Why are they? Are they alligator shoes somehow?
They are not. But you know what? I've got alligator shoes up here, and I got this covered, Dave. So your alternatives are you can buy the Ric Flair, Damian Lillard, Dame Dollar collaboration, or we've got these Carmina alligator shoes that'll run you about $5,500, $3,500. You can get yourself a nice pair of double monks for $1,400, or you can buy the fucking running shoes.
Is there a price on the running shoes?
I have no idea. It's a
collaboration.
collaboration.
I didn't see one, but yeah, man. When I saw this, I was like, I want these. I do.
As you should. They're frankly eyesores and hideous, but it's Ric Flair and it's hilarious. Well, and exactly. It is on theme. It is on theme with like the robe that he's got sporting on there.
Yeah. So like, if you want to see the image, watch us on YouTube or go to Ric Flair's Instagram, yep. Ric Flair Nature Boy. Or at Ric Flair Nature Boy.
Yeah, he is verified, so you can confirm that it is the correct one. It is, in fact, a collaboration apparently with Adidas. And actually, while we're talking about the NFL, I'm going to look this up because I'm curious myself. I have no idea.
But yeah, and I love the fact that Damian Lillard's in this part of this too.
Dude, Ric Flair has a lot of cred with the homies.
He does.
Why he has a lot of cred?
Well, how many pep talks have you seen, including the most recent Jays one, where an athlete or a coach says, give me two claps and a Ric Flair.
Well, right? You got that. So you've got that. You've got the fact. This is what's hilarious about Ric Flair's career. So let's actually have a quick conversation about this, Dave. You know what? I don't even care about the NFL thing. Here's what you need to know about the NFL thing. Both of our teams are going to be playing. Both of our quarterbacks are possibly decrepit and fortunate. The most interesting storyline coming from it, I'm going to quickly cover the NFL thing right now.
Let's do it.
The most interesting story about this game is going to be whether Drew Brees is actually going to disintegrate like Thanos snapping his fingers in the middle of the field and then Jameis takes over and takes him to the promised land. That's scenario 1. Scenario 2 is everything else. Scenario 3 is, from my perspective, I got to figure out if Aaron Rodgers can legitimately put together a third consecutive good game. He seems to be in a good headspace because now, interesting enough, Aaron Rodgers is doing weekly interviews, kind of segments on the Pat McAfee podcast.
Nice.
He's just kind of hanging out with him, Pat McAfee, and friggin' I want to say AJ Hawk. He's like the other co-host. Nice. And I was like, really? This is what we got? and we literally have like, and literally you'll watch the segment and it'll be like, and I think one of the last ones, I think Rodgers was on for like 35 minutes. Now it's a thing. He's a weekly regular now.
That's amazing.
On the podcast. So he's just kind of sitting and hanging out. And sometimes he's sitting there hanging out with like a glass of wine and he's just drinking it and just hanging out and being like super chill. And people are like, I like this Aaron Rodgers. And I'm like, so do I. He's so weird. I was like, I wanted to do like the meme. You ever seen like the Terrell Owens meme? Like,
yeah.
That's my quarterback. I wanted to do like the Terrell Owens meme. It was like, Dave, that's my quarterback. He's so fucking weird. I love it. Yes. This is what I want.
And he dated Olivia Munn for a long time, which was also awesome.
Well, and Danica Patrick.
Yeah, man,
they broke up.
Guy.
Apparently, though, it was funny because they were talking about it. I was like, Aaron, you seem different. You seem like you're in a, and he just alluded to being like in a better headspace and all that. And immediately the comments are like, yeah, because you dumped Danica Patrick. Yeah, because you dumped Danica Patrick. Yeah, apparently, what did Danica Patrick do to you? Like all like one after another. I'm sitting there like, I don't care who he dates. Like, it doesn't make any difference to me. But I'm just like, hilarious. And you look like you're coked out of your mind. It's hilarious. I love it. So good.
So Carlos,
go ahead.
before we get out of the NFL stuff, I wanted to reiterate, because I actually thought about this way more than I should have, about the line that you said from that thing where you heard where it was like the Saint suck, followed by a lucky break, followed by suck.
Mm-hmm.
Or crap. Sorry, it was crap was the actual word.
Sure. Yeah.
So let's put it this way. I feel you could most accurately sum that up then, based on, a lot of things. I'm not going to qualify any of this, but what it really should be summed up as: crap, followed by a lucky break, followed by chronic underachievement.
Well, until future crap comes.
Well, eventually it will, but that's where we're at right now. We are in.
Well, eventually it could be as soon as the end of the season.
It could be this season.
Yeah.
Let's not forget.
Yeah. It doesn't have to take long. If they do go with the Taysom Hill option, I think you're going to find out why he's thrown like 6 passes.
Well, we shall see. But anyway, yeah. So Ric Flair, buddy, let's go.
All right. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up. So in addition
final topic, Ric Flair.
Let me think. Is there any other good NFL matchup? None that I really care about. We'll talk about it later. And we're still doing like the hashtag Zoom call. We're still doing it.
Yeah, of course we are. Of course we are.
Like I got to sit down, have my beer, and enjoy this. But yeah, let's talk about Ric Flair. I think what's funny about it is that for the longest time, if you were talking about like the greatest professional wrestler, Ric Flair was like in the conversation, but you struggled with it because for a long time Ric Flair worked with the NWA. He worked a lot of the regional promotions. Like he was the master.
WCW as well, wasn't he not?
Well, WCW was an offshoot of the NWA originally.
Okay.
So they originally worked, and also as WCW kind of became its own entity. So let me give a really quick primer here. When I say NWA, I'm talking about the National Wrestling Alliance. They don't mean anymore what they once did. The National Wrestling Alliance used to be exactly what it sounds like. It was an alliance. It was a bunch of these regional territories agreeing to have like this champion that could potentially move between the different territories. So he was the champion of like the alliance as a whole, but part of the way they would do business is you've got this champion who's recognized through all the territories as the champion, and he could go in there and challenge all the local ones. So a regular occurrence, especially when Ric Flair was champion as well, but going back before him, was that he would go to all these territories, challenge the champion, give them a great match, make them look like $1 million, and in the end, they would find a sneaky way to make sure neither guy really lost any titles, because he would retain the title, but he would make their champion look like a legit guy, because then he would leave and move on to the next territory, and you still want your champion to look good.
Yeah, of course.
So, and at the same time, Ric Flair would also need to look good so that both guys would still have value going forward. And then Ric Flair could go and challenge the next champion in the next territory. And that's how he rolled for many, many years, being champion all over North America and all over the world. Mm-hmm. And he would go and do exhibition matches where he challenged the champion in Japan and stuff like that too. So the National Wrestling Alliance, once upon a time, meant a lot because it went back to the history of professional wrestling. WCW was kind of an offshoot because they were like Jim Crockett Promotions. I'm not going to give you the whole history. This is the shortest possible version I can give you. But they were part of the National Wrestling Alliance until at one point they weren't. And then once they did, then WCW became its own thing, fully separated from the National Wrestling Alliance. You still had a National Wrestling Alliance champion, which you still do to this day. Nick Aldis is currently the NWA champion, and he competes out of I guess the NWA has its own promotion. We're obviously in the pandemic, they're struggling to put shows on, but the NWA still exists, and it's actually owned by Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, cool.
So like, there's some random wrestling trivia for you. So, but Billy Corgan, being a pretty smart guy, realized that in this current climate, it's good to try to cross promote. So his NWA Women's Champion, Thunder Rosa, has actually been competing in AEW, where she did a championship challenge against the AEW Women's Champion. So they did like a cross promotional champion versus champion thing on the pay-per-view and had a very good match. And she's been hanging around doing some matches with the champion and some tag team and stuff, putting on some good matches, promoting her own brand, promoting her brand, the NWA, promoting, because she walks around with the title and she's the champion, and they're able to promote it that way because Billy Corgan knows, well, our organization is very tiny. AWA has now, AEW has started to elevate itself. The last couple of weeks, they've gotten over 1 million viewers on Wednesday for their show. So they're starting to develop, and they're working with TNT. So they're on a good high level broadcast network. Mm-hmm. So from their perspective, it's like, well, if the NWA Women's Champion can have these showcases on a nationally available thing, it can only help the brand.
Yeah.
So it's very smart. But they booked it in a classic old school way where the two champions fought. There was a winner and a loser, but they did it in a way where they both got to look good.
Right.
And that's how you do it. So that was like the way that Ric Flair used to do it back in the day. But the end result of that, though, is that it meant that it was really regional. Ric Flair was a god in certain regions of the United States. But what happened is when the WWE, then WWF became national, Hulk Hogan became a global icon. He became the guy with all the big high-profile matches. WWE ran their shop very differently. What they would do is Vince McMahon went out with a big checkbook and said, I'll buy your best talent. So he would go out and buy the best talent. So he would go out and buy champions from all these other guys that had been world champion in their respective regional organizations and basically made them glorified jobbers. Their job was just to be there, be in the mid-card. These were former champions in these other organizations.
Yeah.
They would just be there in the mid-card, be good. Maybe they'd win a couple of titles here and there, small titles, and then eventually get fed to Hulk Hogan, who would put the leg drop and then pin him for the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So Hulk Hogan always got to be the best. He didn't need to make them look good. Their job was to make him look good. But these were former champions in the old. Ric Flair would go to the territory as the NWA champion and make them look excellent in the end, no matter who won.
Right.
It was a very different style of doing business. It meant that he could keep having fresh matchups all over the country. In the WWF model, it was like, okay, so who do we feed to Hogan this month?
Yeah.
It worked for years. Obviously, Hogan became an icon, but Hogan has the highest profile matches, but Ric Flair might have the highest amount of like quality matches over a course of a career.
Mm-hmm.
But because of not having that national exposure until WCW became national for a little while, it means that Ric Flair doesn't always get the credit he deserves as being like a top tier guy. But all of this background that I just gave you was to lay the groundwork for the interesting phenomenon that is now Ric Flair has taken on a second life long after his wrestling career is now over, with his promos, with his swag, because people have latched onto the Ric Flair swag and they love it. And it's become its own brand. Ric Flair hasn't wrestled in years. And he shouldn't wrestle ever again. He's too old. He needs to stay away from
70, 72, 71,
something like that.
Something like that.
He actually should have retired years before he actually did. Like, he was way too old to be doing that. But his career is noteworthy enough, and his promos are so legendary that they keep getting played to this day. So Ric Flair, the entity, Ric Flair, the legend, has now taken on another level. And in a way, Ric Flair has elevated his own profile since he stopped wrestling. Because all this has basically reminded people over and over again about Ric Flair years and years and years after he did his best work. Which is interesting. Very, very interesting. It's almost like Ric Flair put himself back into the conversation after he stopped playing the game. And it wasn't even entirely his doing. It was just that people latched onto it. And like hip hop folks, rappers, sports athletes, every time somebody does like the Ric Flair woo, everybody knows it's the Ric Flair woo. And it's like, he's created his own brand.
Yeah.
After his wrestling career is fully over. It's like he's elevated himself as Hogan has slowly come down a couple of pegs. He's still a legendary player in the game.
Right.
He's still Hulk Hogan. But it's almost like Hogan has come a little bit down because obviously he's had his own issues. He's come a little bit down, and Ric Flair has kind of gone a little bit up so that it's a lot more even than it used to be. When it's like we're talking about like the biggest icon of wrestling, Ric Flair has almost taken a second wind at this stage in his life. It's weird. It's kind of interesting too. And he's got a freaking signature shoe with Damian Lillard in 2020. Awesome. Take that. Ric Flair first became NWA champion in the early 1970s. Think about that.
Wow. Yeah.
And now he gets a signature shoe.
Yeah. When you think about it that way, right?
I just think it's interesting. I think the rise of social media has been a boon. Ric Flair, and credit to Ric Flair for embracing it. This was on Ric Flair's Instagram. And what did he include on there? He explained it. Thank you to Adidas, for the opportunity. Like, did you read what the heading was on the post?
No.
It wasn't
I did, but I don't remember what it is right now. Offhand.
It wasn't very long. It was, thank you, Adidas, for the opportunity to show the world that styling and profiling with Nate and Dame is even cooler than being like Mike. Woo! Coming soon.
That's pretty cool. I
So
mean,
he's got
you
his
got to
sig-
give it to him for the. I mean, I don't know if he writes his own, like if he's the one who does his own Instagram writing or whatever, but
but
his
it's in the
Instagram is
style.
pretty entertaining actually, just on its own.
But it fits in the style. Like it's stylistically, it fits into his style of his promos and whatever. Even if you get somebody to write it for him, it's not like they don't have a formula. This is how Ric Flair would phrase this. This is how he would make a promo on this item.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, if you look at it, and it's not just like regular people paying attention to it. One of the big people that was on there, I know of him. I'm not a big, I don't know a lot about him, but like the one of the guys that was on there, one of the certified people, verified people that like replied to that was Killer Mike. Are you familiar with Killer Mike?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a rapper from Atlanta, isn't he?
Yeah. 1.6 million followers. Okay. And I think he's part of Run the Jewels. He was the first guy on there. His reply was just, woo. And that was it. So like Ric Flair has all the street cred being a white guy from North Carolina, originally from Minnesota.
Yeah. I mean, well, and the other thing is, I mean, this isn't, I guess, maybe in the same vein, but if you watch the 30 for 30 about him,
yeah, I saw it. Yep.
I think the most interesting thing comes out of that is that, you know, Ric Flair is one of those people. Like, let's put it this way: if you watch wrestling, right, and I'm going to use The Rock as an example because some of you I'm very familiar with, right? And you watch him, like you look at him now in his movie career and listen to him talk. He and his wrestling persona are not one and the same. There are similarities, obviously, and you can see elements of Dwayne Johnson in The Rock, obviously, right? But Ric Flair is the wrestling like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure there is anymore the other person other than the wrestling personality, right? Like
I think that other person died about 1975.
Yeah,
Since
you know what
then,
I mean? Like
Ric Flair is only been Ric Flair.
Ric Flair is Ric Flair, right? And you know, the person he was before he became Ric Flair no longer exists.
Correct.
Yeah,
you live the gimmick, man. He has lived the gimmick for many decades.
Yeah, and I mean that 30 for 30 is interesting to show, you know, as to how it, you know, the good it's done for him, and also the extreme heartbreak and the negative that had been for him as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. And that's what makes all this. That's why I say this stuff is interesting because, like I said, he has made something out of it. He's got he's got a podcast called Woo Nation, of which of course it is.
Well, why not?
Yeah, like he's got the podcast. And the thing is, whoever's with him and his handlers and his people that are working with him, they're smart enough to know, like, look, there's money to be made in being Ric Flair. You can make money just by talking. You can talk people into the room. You don't have to do anything physical anymore. You haven't had to do it in years. Realistically, just being Ric Flair is in and of itself a profitable venture at the stage.
You know, here's the thing. I'm also very convinced if we wanted to, I don't know how much it would cost us, probably several $100s, but I'm pretty sure we could get him to be like, do a promo for this podcast.
Yeah, but that would basically be just Dave being like, do it. It's like, I need this, Carlos. It's like, look, you wire the money. we'll get it done. That's like I don't know what else to tell you. I will recommend, since we're at least talking about the guy, I will say, if any of you do have any interest in Ric Flair the wrestler, what I'd recommend to you is check out his performance in the 1992 Royal Rumble. It's not like his old NWA stuff. It's not his old WCW stuff, but I feel like it's one of his more underrated, like top to bottom, great performances. Right from the beginning, right through the end, to winning, to the promo that came along with it, and becoming WWF champion. And it was a culmination of a great little run there that he had in WWE/WWF. But we're going to see. It's going to be very interesting to see. And I'm just looking it up here. This is this Ric Flair shoe that got this whole conversation going is a Dame 7. So Damian Lillard 7 signature shoe. And it's going to be unveiled. It's set to be formally unveiled by the brand in October. And a release date will probably be announced after that. So it hasn't been announced the release date yet. It is a collaboration, so we're not sure exactly what the street price is going to be. Although we can probably get a bit of a sense of it, and I'll look that up. But that's kind of in general. The bottom line, though, point that I wanted to make about all that is that it is genuinely interesting to me how Ric Flair has kind of rewritten his legacy and like elevated himself in his post-retired career.
Yeah.
Because he's moved himself up and become a lot more relevant to kind of, like I said, that Damian Lillard would do a collaboration with him. And he was probably happy to do it. And rappers and things like speak his praises. They reference him in rap songs. Like Ric Flair has become a bigger player now than he was at his height in the 1970s and 1980s, which is bizarre to think about.
Yeah, it really is.
So it's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. But there you go, Ric Flair. Good for you. Good on you. We'll see what happens. I will tell you, Dave, if the Dame 7 shoe, unless there's some weird thing about it, if the Dame 7 shoe is similarly priced to the Dame 6, they tend to go for 160 retail.
Good to know. Matt, we shall see.
We shall see. If so, I expect to see multiple pairs of shoes around the feet of you and Ben, and woo slaps all around.
You got it, buddy. Ready? Just for you, Carlos.
Woo! Lame. Anyway, so I think that's good. I think that's, I really, like I said, the other NFL matchups, there's some, but I don't think there's anything that catches my eye in particular. Oh, well, actually, that's not true. Hold on. There is one NFL matchup that did kind of catch my eye, and I think it's this week. What?
Sir Purr?
Yeah, Sir Purr is an NFL matchup. Thanks, Dave. What I was referring to was, I'm trying to see if I can find it because I believe it's this week. I want to say it's this week. Hold on. Oh, yes. The Monday Nighter. Kansas City and Baltimore.
Yes. That should be a good matchup.
Yes. Yes. Very interesting. That right there is, well, that's like, that right there is a matchup of the present and future of the NFL, because those are some really good teams. That could be a very high octane game potentially. There could be some serious flashiness going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that has potential for craziness. I have Lamar Jackson as my quarterback in my fantasy league. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens to that one. All right, I will quickly point out a couple of other interesting matchups here. I will say we've already talked about Green Bay, New Orleans. That's an interesting matchup, but it's there. Dallas and Seattle could be interesting, just because it'll be interesting to see what Dak Prescott does with that, and then if Russell Wilson can torch the Dallas team, that'll be kind of funny potentially. Could be. Another one here that kind of is interesting is the Rams taking on Buffalo, because right now Josh Allen is right now riding a wave of momentum. We'll see if he can, because LA is 2-0 and Buffalo's 2-0. Can Buffalo make it 3-0? Freak out, Bills Mafia. Freak out. My God. And then, of course, the signature matchup of the weekend, the Washington football team taking on the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I know. I passed. I passed. I don't know if I'm allowed to pass, but I still pass.
So good.
You know, just yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Come on, the Washington football team taking on the Cleveland Browns. Yeah.
Done.
Says the guy who watches Saints games. Terrible. Just terrible. Oh, well. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's good. So my last thing is hopefully, cross fingers, we'll see if Dallas can continue and make this a series. I'll be hoping for it. We'll see what happens. As far as Major League Baseball, I think we'll talk a little bit more about it next week, because I think we'll have all the matchups solidified by that point. I don't know if they're going to start the games right away. Did you see what the schedules were for the playoffs?
For the playoffs, they start on
MLB.
Tuesday, I believe.
Oh, so we're going to start right away.
Yeah.
Okay, so by that point, we'll not only know the matchups, we'll also be able to kind of see.
Sorry, September 30th, Wednesday is it for? No,
29th.
September 29th.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Tuesday. So you can either watch the presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, or you can watch playoff baseball. I feel I know what I'm doing, Carlos.
Presidential debate?
You know it.
I can't speak for you. It's like it's playoff baseball. I'm in.
No, man. Playoff baseball is the right call on this one.
Indeed. All right, so I think we'll definitely have a lot more to say about that once we do get those matchups finalized, and obviously by that point we'll have a couple of games under our belts to get a sense of what that playoff baseball looks like with these neutral sites and all the different setups to it. This has been a very interesting year, obviously for a multitude of reasons, but now with Major League Baseball playoffs getting in there and us getting closer to a World Series champion, us probably by the time we speak next, we will have a Stanley Cup champion. One way or another, no matter what happens, we'll have a winner, and then we'll be able to chat about that as well. I think that'll be kind of interesting. So with that said, if you haven't been checking it out up until this point, on the scrolling ticker in the bottom that I activated, you can see that we're on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts, in addition to being on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing it on YouTube. So I'm Carlos, that's Dave, and this was episode 68 of the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast. We didn't get any rolling Neymar this week, maybe next week, but we did get some creepy Rob Manfred, and that's always the thing. Probably more creepy Rob Manfred next week, so you can look forward to that. We'll catch you in the next one.